How are we doing, everybody? Matt Modi here with OddsJam, and there is a brand new DFS site available called No House Advantage, similar to Prize Picks, similar to Underdog, in that it's a DFS site in which you can basically parlay player props together. The more player props you add, the higher the payout. So in this video, I'm just going to be doing a brief beginner, very beginner-friendly tutorial about how to use No House Advantage and how it works and everything like that. I will say, like I said, we just partnered with them. So if you sign up using the link that OddsJam provides, so if you just go to the site, click this link, No House Advantage, you can get a 100% or $100 instant deposit match. So basically, you deposit $100, they will put an additional $100 in your account. So free $100 deposit match. So No House Advantage, it's very similar to Prize Picks and Underdog, like I mentioned, in that it's basically like a player prop parlay. So you choose Bogdanovic, and I choose Jaden Ivey to go over their point total. And the more plays I add, like right now, I would turn $10 into $30 with a two-pick one. If I were to add a third, I would turn $10 into $50. So the more plays you add, the higher the payout. That's how it works. And the types of markets and stuff you can add, I mean, it's everything available. You see up here, soccer, college basketball, which is really cool. You can do college basketball player props, NBA, NHL. You can also look at matchups. So like who you think is going to score more, LaMelo Ball versus Jalen Green. Lots of cool stuff you can do. So I definitely recommend signing up using OddsJam and playing around with the site itself. It's very easy, very basic to use. You're literally just choosing player props, choosing them to go over or under. So back to the NBA one, Bogdanovic over 21.5 points, Jaden Ivey over or under 13.5 points. So the stat is listed right here and it goes down. So it's not just points, it goes down to rebounds, 3-pointers made. And if you want to search for a specific player, you can just do that right here. You can search for Al Horford. You can search for Joel Embiid, who's available. You can take his points and rebounds. So that's kind of the very basic of how it works. It's a player prop parlay. The more plays you add, the higher the payout. Pretty simple. One thing that I have done here, and this is the spreadsheet that we use for Prize Picks, Underdog, Thrive, all of these different DFS companies. New House Advantage, No House Advantage, NHA is down here. Basically what I did was I went through each of the payout structure and gave you the implied odds, and this is per individual leg, and then the total odds of the parlay. Basically meaning the lower the implied odds of the individual leg, the more value associated. So like with Prize Picks, the best value is 5 or 6 pick flex. For Underdog, the best value is 3 and 5 picks. And then for Thrive, the best value is actually 2 picks, which is interesting because that's different from the majority of them. So let's chat about No House Advantage. So I'm going to stick with the 2 plays. So I'm just going to stick with 2 plays here. So one thing to keep in mind, and every website does this, so I'm not knocking No House Advantage, but the 3x here is a little bit misleading because it includes your initial investment. So when it says $10 payout of $30, that includes your initial investment of $10. So if you're just looking at strictly profits, I would double my money in terms of profits. So I would risk $10, I would profit $20, and they would give me a payout of 30. So when it says 3x, that is the payout. If you want to talk in terms of pure profit, you just have to subtract 1 from every single one of these numbers. So for a 2-pick option, you are doubling your money in terms of profit. So the implied odds associated with that is plus 200. Like if you're doing a parlay on or any type of sports betting endeavor and you get plus 200 odds, that means you're doubling your money. So the next thing that we see here is the implied odds, and then we see minus 137. This means is referring to the implied odds of the individual leg of a 2-leg entry. So if you're placing a 2-leg entry on no house advantage, each individual leg has the implied odds of minus 137. And what I can show you what I mean by this. Like if I just have up the parlay calculator pulled up on OddsJam. This is obviously free to use on OddsJam, the parlay calculator. You just type in a 2-leg parlay of minus 137 odds. You see that gives you roughly parlay odds of plus 200. So that's kind of what you see, what this means here when you see minus 137. That is the leg or the odds per individual leg for a 2-leg entry. Next up is 3 legs. So your money goes from 3x, or I should say your payout goes from 3x up to 5x. So if we're just talking profits, your profit goes to 4x. So if I place this $10 entry and it hits, I would get a total payout of $50 and I would get a profit of $40. So in terms of the math behind that 4x in your money, associates to plus 400 odds. So again, like if you're betting something actually on a regulated sportsbook, Pinnacle or like FanDuel, DraftKings, whatever, you bet something at plus 400 odds, your profit will be 4 times whatever you risk, $10 into $40. So the implied odds of the individual legs for that is actually worse at minus 141. Basically saying it is less value. The math is worse on a 3-pick play than a 2-pick play. And if I type in, go back to the parlay calculator, type in minus 141 odds and put that in for 3 legs, we will see parlay odds of plus 400. So in terms of strategy, when it comes to no house advantage, it really doesn't make sense from a mathematical standpoint to do a 3-pick option. You should almost always avoid that. Now, that's not me saying that it's impossible to make money doing this, but in terms of value, it is the worst of all the different options. If you do a 3-pick one, has the implied odds of minus 141, and obviously the higher the number, the worse value when it comes to implied odds. So if we're just looking at 2 and 3, it would make sense to do a 2-leg one as opposed to a 3-leg one. But now we start getting to where things are a little bit more interesting. Let's go to 4 picks. So I'm going to add one more, and the profit goes from 5x to 11x, or the payout goes from 5x to 11x, which means the profit more than doubles. It goes from 4 to 10, right? So I would turn $10 into $100 profit, $110 payout if you include my initial investment. So that does have some value. The 4-pick one equates to odds of plus 1,000. That's what 10xing your money equates to, plus 1,000, which gives you the implied odds of an individual leg of roughly minus 122. Equates to the same odds as a 3 and a 5-pick play on Underdog, and is better than a 4-leg entry on Prize Picks. So in terms of value, No House Advantage has better value on 4 legs than Prize Picks, and the value equals the same from a 3 and a 5-pick one. Again, if I go to the parlay calculator, I type in minus 122 odds. I do that for 4 total picks. You will see in parlay odds of roughly plus 1,000, which is where all of this math comes from. So 4 picks is better than 2 and 3. 3 picks is better than 2. The opposite of that. 2 picks is better than 3 in terms of value. 4 is the best of the 3 so far. But as I'm sure you guys have seen by now, the value on 5 is actually the best. So let's look at that. We add a 5th play here. We expand this. So I go from a payout of 11x to a payout of 21x. So in terms of profit, it goes from 10xing your money in terms of profit all the way up to 20xing your money in terms of profit. So $10 turns into $200 of actual profit. So in terms of the math behind that, 5 picks is actually the best. Of all of the options that you can play on No House Advantage, 5 picks is the best value. It equates to the best value on Prize Picks, which is a 5 or 6 pick flex, and has better value than any option you can place on Underdog. Right? The implied odds are plus 2,000. You 20x your money if you hit a 5 pick one on No House Advantage. Now, obviously, the value is the highest, but the risk is the highest as well. Instead of needing 2 or 3 player props to hit, you need all 5. But the win percentage of plus 2,000, and I can go and I can actually show you this as well. If I go to calculators, odds converter calculator, and I type in plus 2,000, if you win 5% of your entries at plus 2,000 odds, you will be profitable. So it's a risk reward situation when it comes to how many you should bet, or how many legs you should add, I should say. But you also need to think about it in terms of how often you need to hit to be profitable. 20x, 20 plus 2,000 odds, you hit 5% of them, you are making money. Now, obviously, losing 95% of your entries is scary, but in terms of value, 5 picks is actually the best. And then in terms of finding plays, right, it's cool to know the value behind everything. How do you actually make money off of it? Well, there's 3 different tools that I will briefly talk to you about. Number one, and this is the most important one and the easiest one, is the OddsJam Positive Expected Value page. So I told you that the implied odds of a 5 pick flex are minus 119. So if you go to OddsJam, you go to the Positive EV page, you can filter specifically for No House Advantage, and it'll give you profitable player props to put on No House Advantage. So you don't need to think about anything. The way it works, long story short, and I have videos detailing the math and how you can actually make money on these DFS companies, so I definitely recommend checking those out. Basically, the way it makes sense is OddsJam calculates the perfect line of what a market should be priced at, the OddsJam perfect line. And if those odds, the OddsJam perfect line, is more favorable than minus 119, that is a profitable player prop to put in a No House Advantage entry. Like we know the implied odds are minus 119. Well, this Lamella Ball under 25.5 points has a no vig line, an OddsJam perfect line of minus 122, more favorable than minus 119. And just look at where every other sportsbook prices it. And this is where the main part of the strategy comes in. A regulated sportsbook, a DraftKings, a FanDuel, if they think a play is likely to hit, they will charge more money for it. It's as simple as that. Look at this Lamella Ball one. They price his under at minus 145. That means I would have to risk $145 to profit 100. In terms of percentages, if I was betting plays at minus 145 odds, I would need to win almost 59% of my bets. Now, if I change this down to minus 119, that goes all the way down to 54% of your bets. So the value is insane because they are not charging any extra juice per individual player prop. The payout's the exact same. Like if you just look, like I could take the over under on Lamella Ball, right? I could take his over points, I could take his under points. Just look at how differently all these sportsbook price it. All the sportsbooks think that the over is significantly the unlikely scenario. So why would I ever take that? Use the sportsbooks to tell you what player props are likely to hit and then add those into an entry. That's what the positive expected value page does. It also works for low holds. It's the same exact concept. You go to the OddsJam tools, low holds, you filter specifically for No House Advantage, and it gives you situations where No House Advantage is offering the best odds on a play. So all you need to do is just hover over a play, click your mouse, and compare the odds of this play compared to every other book. In this case, the sports books are telling you they think that Jimmy Butler is unlikely to go over 24.5 points. So they're juicing the over, right? They have the over at plus 115. Well, No House Advantage isn't charging any more or less juice. So the under would be a good play here. This is a good under to take. Jimmy Butler under 24.5 points. It's best offered on No House Advantage. The other sports books that price it are telling you how unlikely they think he is to go over, which is them telling you they think he's likely to go under. Another example of this is Joel Embiid to go over 10.5 rebounds. It's best offered on No House Advantage at minus 119. Look at the other sports books, minus 125, up to -133, telling you how likely they think he is to go over. So that's the low holds page. The last one is the OddsJam screen. This one requires a little bit more work on your end. The way the OddsJam screen works is you pick a market, in this case, player points. And you can type in here. So you just click anywhere where it's kind of highlighted and you just type player points. You click into a market and it pulls up where every major sportsbook is pricing this market. So not necessarily the odds themselves, but just where they price the total at. So you want to look at examples where no house advantage is an outlier in terms of where they price a total. And here's a perfect example. Bojan Bogdanovic to go under 21.5 points on no house advantage. Look at every other sportsbook. They actually price it 1 point lower at 20.5. And that's a big deal, right? Those point differences are a huge deal in the long run. So when you're using the screen, you want to identify outliers from no house advantage compared to every other sportsbook, which is exactly what we have right here. So that's kind of the broader analysis, the beginner-friendly analysis of strategies from using no house advantage. Hopefully this all made sense to you. Hopefully the math and everything wasn't too confusing. If you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. Other than that, if this is the type of content that you enjoy, appreciate it if you could like, comment, subscribe. All that good stuff helps me out a ton. But that's it. So I appreciate everybody watching and have a good one.